What's going on, guys? My name is Crazy Clips and welcome back to another video. In this video, this is part 2 of my PC building guide, and now that all the parts are arrived, I'd just like to showcase it to them and go over my reasoning again as to why I bought them. Before watching this video, I highly recommend you look at part 1 of this video as I go into much more detail on the parts. So click the flag that show up around now if you wanted to see some of the stuff that you may miss out on just by watching this video and not the previous one. So I'm going to go over my parts again. So for the no, let's just go to the CPU first. One of the more important parts. As you see from this box, it's the Ryzen 7 3700X 8-core 16-thread processor. You can go with a Ryzen 5 5600X. It's a pretty comparable price. It really depends on if you want to wait out for deals or you want to have the latest, because as you can see from this box, I got it for $223, which for that price is a really good deal. It's like only $20 more than the 3600 or 3600X. So for that price, it's a good deal. But if you want something a little bit, a little bit more new, and you're willing to spend more and push up the budget, then I'd say go for the 5600X. That'll get you really good gaming performance, and if your graphics card is good enough, and also the editing times is much faster as well. For the graphics card, I went with whatever was available at Micro Center, to be honest. I got really lucky. This is the EVGA SC Ultra. There it is, and then these are the features on the back. I can tell you right now that this is a nice card. It's both pretty budget friendly compared to the other 1650 Supers, and it has a metal backplate, and it's a dual fan cooler design. The thermals are extremely good, and I'll show you in Task Manager later in the video. And I got it for $239 at Micro Center. Most of these parts I got from Micro Center. Though that's the place I'd highly recommend you look for a PC in 2021. This video may become irrelevant in a year or in 3, I don't know, but take that as you will. For the RAM, I went with the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro. You're probably asking in the comment section why I went with 32 gigabytes, and that's just because I found a really good deal. If you want to not stretch your budget, you don't have to get 32 gigabytes, but if you want to play the newest, latest and greatest AAA titles like Horizon Zero Dawn, Warzone, and then you do heavy video editing and stuff like Premiere or DaVinci Resolve, then you can take advantage of more than 16 gigabytes. I got this kit for like, I think, $144, I believe. Now it's $200. I do not recommend getting a 32 gigabyte stick at that price. Maybe find an alternative to the Corsair, but yeah. The 16 gigabytes are still going for $100, so I'd say that's the deal right now. For the motherboard, I went with the B450 Gaming Pro Carbon Max Wi-Fi. Now, there were many options I was considering when it came to B450 motherboards. I know that it's mainly dominated by MSI if you want to do stuff like overclocking and want good VRM thermals. I was looking at the Asus B450F because that had tons and tons of reviews on Amazon, but after looking at some reviews on YouTube like Hardware Unboxed, they said they do not recommend the B450F by Asus because of the thermals. There's like where the heat, like there's supposed to be a heat sink here, and on the Asus one, there's a plastic shroud over it. So even if you're running something like a Ryzen 7 3700X, the thermals will get into the 90s. So I do not recommend getting that board unless you want the PCIe expansion, because it maintains the PCIe expansion from the X470 lineup. It has 3 PCIe X16 slots instead of 2 on this board. However, it doesn't have Wi-Fi. I think this one has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and the Asus B450 does not, and these are around the same price. So I was like, if this is like $10 more for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, why not? Plus the good VR thermals. You know, the RGB I don't really care about, but you know, that's a nice bonus. And the RAM support is really good. When I was handling the motherboard, when building this, it was surprisingly heavy, and I think most of the weight is just from the thick heat sinks, so I can assure you that you'll get really good thermals from this. More than I was expecting. So yeah, that's the B450 Gaming Pro Carbon Max Wi-Fi. I got it for I think $140. It was like $10 off from $150. So I just picked it up because of the good reviews. Moving on, I went with a PVIA Prestige power supply. It doesn't really have any nice packaging. It's pretty like generic power supply, but I wanted something. I wanted a high wattage power supply, not because this entire system will really use that per se. Like this entire system, the Ryzen 7 3700X, the 1650 Super, the motherboard, and the Corsair RAM will only really use like 400 to 500 tops. Like, and that's if you're going 100% usage. So it's unnecessary, but if you want to, let's say, upgrade to the new 30 series cards in the future, this thing will be able to handle it. And you're probably wondering why, you know, I picked in a PVIA supply, because they're notorious for not being very trustworthy. And I'll flag a video where someone used it for a super budget build and it surprised them. And also the reviews on Amazon are really good, and I think reviews matter much more than just the brand. Like if the reviews for some, you know, suspicious power supply is like really good, I think, you know, it's worth it, you know, to save the money. But you know, that's really your call. If you don't want to take the risk, I completely understand. So yeah, it comes in multiple variants. This one's the 800 watt. Pretty sure Amazon only sells the 800 watt, but I may be wrong. There's also a 600 watt, and at the time of recording this, I'm pretty sure the 1000 watts out of stock because of Bitcoin mining. That's still a huge thing. So yeah. So that's an overview of all the parts. If you're wondering about storage, go back to part 1 of my previous video. For my personal build, I already had storage to begin with, so it wasn't a big enough deal for me, but you can make your own conclusions on that one. For the case, I went with the Lianli Lanco 2 mesh. I do not have the box with me, but when we get into the next segment where I showcase the PC, you'll be able to see the case. And if you have any questions on the cable management I used to build this and any troubleshooting issues, let me know and I'll try and answer your comments the best I can.
For the streaming test, I'm showcasing a video of Alien Isolation on like the viewer's end. I'm playing at maxed out at 1080p, and you know, this is just me playing through the game casually. Uh, if you're wondering about temperatures while streaming, they didn't really go up that much from idle. I'm not doing any overclocking, so you know, your mileage may vary if you plan to build this and overclock, so just keep that in mind. Um, in terms of responsiveness on my end, it was extremely responsive. It was like I wasn't even streaming. And in terms of the image quality, I'd say it's pretty good. The NVENC encoder does a nice job at uh, displaying the picture in the utmost quality your internet can handle. If you have really good internet speeds, you're probably gonna get better image quality than I am at this moment. And so yeah, it really depends on your both your internet speed and also um, if you're running any other task in the background while playing this game. I wasn't, so you know, the image quality is really good. So as you heard in the previous segment, I went over the RGB and the a sound test, and I literally opened the case and put my phone next to all the components, and from the recording it's like super silent. It's like slightly louder than that, but that's pretty much an accurate representation of the noise. So to sum it up, this PC is extremely quiet. I'm really surprised and good to know. Okay, I think that does it for this video. I'm going to let the stream run and give you my final thoughts on this PC, and if I could go back and rebuild it, would I have done anything different? So I'm really happy with the PC and how it turned out. I think, you know, all the components worked really well together, and everything fit into the case nicely. Excuse me. Would I have done anything differently? I think, you know, you could judge my cable management. I think the cables the RGB cables coming out of the Prism cooler are a little bit ridiculous, and they can easily fall out. Um, so yeah, you need to be careful about that. So yeah, that's my PC build. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.